Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. Speaking of, I'm Stephanie, and today we have Allisha Padilla, who is a birth and bereavement doula, precision nutrition certified, and fitness coach. So she is doing a ton of different things, and she is also a military wife and mom. Tell us, how did you started with being a doula first?
I did, yes. Out of all those things, I started with being a doula first. I became a mom. That's kind of what sparked my passion for the birth world. A doula is a support person. So a lot of people will ask me, is that the same thing as a midwife? And it's not. I don't have any medical credentials. So as a midwife will take care of a mother kind of internally, I kind of phrase it as like I'm the external part of that. So I'm a support person and a coach for mom and just the birthing family. It's my job to just kind of hold the space for them and whatever that looks like. And so it's a very intuitive process. I'm somebody that's hired privately by a family or a mom. I coach moms through, so I depending on where I come in the pregnancy, sometimes I support moms all throughout their pregnancy, just on an emotional level. So I've had some clients that, every doctor's appointment, they need to call me and process what happened in their doctor's appointments. I have some moms that hire me at the very end of their pregnancy and they just need me through that labor and delivery. But typically a doula will most come into play for the labor and delivery portion. And what my job looks like is external. So emotionally supporting that family, spiritually, if that's necessary, or important to the family. And a lot of my job is like touch, like massage, words of encouragement. It's not a replacement for a spouse or a partner, but supporting both parents in that process if there are two parents present.
And then moving to the other end of the spectrum, you also are a bereavement doula, which I've never known about. How did you get into
Yeah.
that? What is that like?
So my first pregnancy, with my son, we at 9 weeks pregnant had gone through what we thought was a miscarriage, and we still think our son was a twin. We had a very just kind of your typical like early miscarriage situation. In our case, it ended up that our son was still alive and well, and I carried on that pregnancy to be able to deliver him at full term. Experiencing that in the medical community that I was a part of at that time, and really not being supported or cared for well, and just seeing the need for some gap to be filled. So seeing that reality and that need for somebody to support in that situation, to make sure that that family didn't feel alone, and never had to feel like I felt going through that experience, was really the drive behind that. I wanted to be specifically trained for any situation or any mom that I would come across that may have an unexpected, stillbirth or death of her baby or child. And I wanted to have the tools necessary to meet that family where they needed to be met and support them in the appropriate way.
How do you handle those situations? How do you deal with that sadness yourself and then go back into your life?
When I first started my first bereavement case, um, it was interesting. I knew who and what I needed to be for that family for the time that I was with them. But then I realized that after I left that situation and that environment, and was once again integrated to my life back at home with my children, with Kason at the time, my oldest, I realized like I'm not a drinker. And that's what was my first reaction was, I just want to drink, like, and realizing that's we can't, we need to process this, and really need to that's not healthy. Like realizing that at first, that like, okay, this is very much impacting me and it should. But I need to find healthier ways to process this. And so very much a part of what brings me comfort is Jesus. And so I've learned in those times where I look to worldly or physical, very tangible comfort, that that is everlasting comfort to me, is prayer and my Bible, and just going back to that truth and that joy for me.
We talked about how you are precision nutrition certified and a fitness coach, and you were saying that that's very intertwined with your work as a doula. So what are those overlapping areas?
Nutrition is very important to a growing baby and a healthy mom and a healthy family. And I think body movement is very important to a healthy mind and body as well. And so all of those things intertwine to make the best possible situation. I think we just live in a time where there's so much education and so much knowledge available and accessible to us, but because of that, it's so very overwhelming. I have a lot of moms that just movement helps to bring about a better birth for them, just establishing different fitness things into pregnancy, into the labor and delivery positions, postures, things like that, just body physiology kind of things, being able to implement those things into even birth, and then postpartum with healing and recovery, and what movement is appropriate for that on a fitness level, and then also what nutrition, are you a breastfeeding mom? This is how many calories you need a day, and this is what you need to support a healthy milk supply, and just a recovering body, and these are the best foods, and so all of those things just kind of work together.
And so out of that, you and your sister created Tended Roots. And I love that name. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I love that it's, tended as in clearly cared for, and roots. I like that it has the attachment to obviously food, roots in the ground, but also roots in family with your sister. And so tell us about Tended Roots, what that is and what your goal is.
Yeah, so Tended Roots, I am one of 5 girls. My younger sister, the sister that I'm closest with, we are both very passionate about body movement, fitness, and we're both precision nutrition certified coaches. And so very passionate about health and wellness and the preventative medicine through food. Grew up in a big family that was very lower middle class, and food was, there was always dinner on the table, but the just pastas and stews, just very simple meals that could feed a lot. So starting Tended Roots has been a lifelong, you could say, process, but a very long time dream of ours, that we love people, we love food and the effects that it has on the body, and we love creating food that is fueling for the body but also tastes really good. And we just found ourselves in a place where we would get so many questions and so many just like feedback on our recipes on our personal Instagram pages, and just constantly kind of having to send recipes off to people, and loving that, but also being like, we want a place that's just one place that people can go to find these recipes, to share our recipes, and to teach about body movement and just sustainable change. And the big dream is working up to a website where we can coach people virtually. Long time dream is settling down together and in one place, having a space where we can create, where we can educate, where we can studio, where we can move and teach people to move, and So yeah, it's like still in the process, but this is where we're starting. This is our first starting point. So that a lot of things led up to Tended Roots becoming a reality.
Tell us about some of the recipes or the movements that you guys share on there. What inspires what you post on there?
The recipes, my sister Kiralee, she is gluten and dairy intolerant. So a lot of our recipes, they're free of a lot of allergens. So everything that we create and we make, not only tasty, but just very nutritionally dense food. So it's something that you can enjoy taste bud wise, but also that your body is really going to get the most out of nutritionally. I eat dairy and gluten, and so some of the recipes that I create or make for my family or just in the kitchen have those components to them. But most of what we do is also very flexible. Like we give substitutes for allergies. And
I was looking through your page. A lot of your posts talk about gut health too. What makes that
yes,
such an important thing to consider when choosing your foods?
yeah. So we've found just through just personal research and in our nutrition certification that the health of your gut is quite possibly the most important um, important variable to your overall health. And the research on this and the science with the gut microbiome is very new still. I mean, they're still discovering a lot about the gut in general and the microbiome specifically. The microbiome is kind of an entity of itself, is what they've discovered, and that is in your gastrointestinal tract. Um, there's tons of bacteria in that tubing, and there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. Um, and so if you've heard of probiotics, that is the good bacteria and feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Um, and what happens and what they've discovered, especially in Western societies that seem to have a lot of health problems, like just on a grand scale of varying degrees. Um, the correlation there is that the diet seems to really be the influencer of that. And so what they've found in digging deeper into that is that this microbiome, we eat a lot of processed foods, high in sugar, processed, um, and that seems to be the kicker, the process and the sugar aspect. Because we have a small amount of yeast. We're all born with a small amount of yeast in our gastrointestinal tract, and that yeast is used when we die. That yeast is used to decompose our bodies. But what happens is when if you've ever made bread or you had to use yeast for anything, you know that if you add too much sugar, it'll just overflow. So if you think about that in comparison to the gut, to the gastrointestinal tract, when you're eating all these processed foods, foods high in sugar, it's your body was not designed to take in that much. So the same kind of reaction happens internally, where that yeast just bubbles over, and it goes into parts of your body that it's not meant to go into. So even things like arthritis, like that yeast, that kind of yeast, it will go into different parts of your body and start decomposing those parts of your body. Like if leaky gut syndrome is another term for that. And our bodies can actually, it can take a lot. Our bodies are quite resilient, and it can really take a lot of damage nutritionally before we get health problems. And that differs for everybody too, depending on your epigenetics and just your body's stamina. withstand. And for some people that looks like weight gain, for some people that just looks like health issues, whether with the thyroid, or they've just found that it just impacts so much of your health, to have a gut issue. The food that we make and that we recommend is also going to be something that supports your gut and your gut health, and not to the detriment of it.
What are some of the most important things that you could eat or start with if you wanted to start addressing your gut health?
Yeah. So there are I think just the most simple way we kind of lay that out for people is um, a mostly whole foods diet. So um, you are you eating fresh fruit and vegetables in their whole entity? Like, not orange juice is a process of an orange. Not that orange juice is bad for you. We know we don't label things as bad, but that's an extra process. Maybe have the whole orange instead of the orange juice that's gone through a process that has more sugar. So just eating foods in their whole state.
You were talking about the yeast in your system before and that it can grow out of control and just bubble up. Once you start making these healthy lifestyle changes, can you get your yeast back in control, or is it like it exists, it exists?
Yeah, no, you can get those things back in under control, and it really is amazing, when you've taken in foods that are not nutritionally dense. Um, you know, I can just remember as a kid eating cereal a lot, and pasta for dinner, and just those things that are just going to be to the detriment of your body over a long period of time when that's your normal diet. So you could have that diet for, the first 25 years of your life and start experiencing some problems because of that, because your gut is kind of out of whack in that way. But, try a whole foods kind of approach, and just start changing some things. And our approach is always one thing at a time. So just creating small changes, and it's amazing how quickly your body can reverse and come back to where it's supposed to be in the short period of time, compared to the long period of time that you really did not care for it in the way that it should be cared for.
And so, to people like me who are not domestic at all, I do not like to cook. How do you overcome those barriers and start going down this road?
Yes. So that's another thing about our recipes. We try to make them very simple, because we also are, even though we are moms, and we both get to be home with our kids, and that's what we like to do. We do realize there's a lot of people that's not a reality for varying reasons, or just not even a desire. And so even though we're home, we don't want to spend all of our days in the kitchen, even though that's something we like to do. When it's time for dinner, we have needy children, and we want to get it on the table. Um, so we try to make our recipes really simple to follow, um, really simple to just implement. And I think just the word to the wise of people that can't be in their kitchen often, or don't want to be, or don't have the time to, um, is just making those small changes, just one meal at a time. Maybe it's one meal a week, or we've really found success with meal prep. If people have time one day out of the week, for a few hours on a Sunday or whatever, making that a priority to, just chop your fresh fruits and vegetables. And so you just have everything ready for the week. And it takes intentionality, and it takes consistency. But the results are so worth it.
What's the key to meal prepping and making that a success? It seems
Yeah.
daunting.
Yes. So we really like the book Cook Once, Eat All Week, Fed and Fit. Um, And that she lays that out really beautifully, and really simply. And the key to meal prepping is just to be able to intentionally set aside just a bulk of time, any day of the week that you can, and then just busting everything out so that you have really nutrient dense foods to choose from throughout the week. So it's not a in the moment kind of decision. When we make in the moment kind of decisions with our food, uh, we usually don't choose something that's going to be fueling or lasting. When we're at that place where our bodies are already needing something, or we're very hungry, I'm going to reach for the carbs every time. I'm going to reach for, you know, the cookie. I'm going to reach for, because my body just wants something. And carbs, sugar, all of those things, those are things that our body is going to use right away in the most efficient way. So that's usually what we lean toward, but it's not going to sustain us or last us.
How do you teach your kids about food and talk to them about it?
Mm. When I started going through kind of my health journey was after Kason he was probably close to 2. So there were some things that we had already implemented in our home that um, were not ideal to or easy to reverse. A lot more work. And once I started getting educated on nutrition, and we just talk about food as food, and with what we make in our home, um, our kids are offered the same thing for dinner that we're eating, and we we don't make them finish their food. Um, if they're a, a big thing that we say in our house during meals is when our kids want to be excused, "Are you satisfied?" "I'm satisfied." "Okay, then you may be excused." And for in our home, if meals are left with food on the plate, our children know that that's what, if they're hungry, that's what they're coming back to, or they can have whole foods, so a fruit or a vegetable. If they didn't eat their dinner, they're hungry, they don't want to eat their dinner, fine, you can have, you know, I'll cut you up an apple, or you can have some carrots. And so that's we try not to make food a thing, you know. And for my son, it's been really fun to he's 6, and it's been really fun to see just kind of these light bulbs go off and kind of have these conversations that I would have that weren't even on my radar until I was a full grown adult, you know. And yeah, so he'll say, "I want to eat this because it's going to make me good and strong," or he'll say, "I don't really want to eat this right now because I don't think it's going to contribute to making me big and strong." And so just kind of talking about food as it is, and that it has a place in our lives. I mean, my kids are no strangers to ice cream or donuts, or, you know, we normalize those things in their lives because we think it will help them to make more healthy decisions. And just being keenly aware of how their body is feeling.
With kids who might be, 4, 5, 6, when they're old enough that maybe they've developed some of these habits through no fault of their own, but
Sure.
whatever, it is a busy life. The parents just getting into healthy eating, but they're old enough that they're independent and stubborn. They want to assert control over what they're doing. How do you get them past wanting macaroni and cheese for dinner every day, or wanting to eat a hot dog, or whatever it is, and trying to get them, I guess, to make those changes?
Yeah, that was our biggest challenge with Kason, with our oldest, because when I was on my just beginning my food journey, he was already in those habits. You know, we had the goldfish, and the crackers, and the mac and cheese, like you were saying, through no fault of their own. You know, they these habits are established. And for Kason, that was definitely the case. Um, And so, um, yeah, I think just like I was saying in the previous bit, we just started to change the game. Started offering a variety of foods with every meal. And, sometimes he wouldn't touch whatever there was, oh gosh, there's somebody, I don't remember where I found this or read this, but we would always offer him something we knew he did like that was still considered um, fueling for his body. So maybe rice or quinoa or something, usually grains are pretty much liked by kids as long as they're flavorful. And so we would always offer him something he liked, um, and then something that was new to him, um, and then something he was learning. And so we'd try to put a variety of foods on his plate, and we still do with our kids. That's the key, I think, just putting a variety of foods, allowing him to be a part of the grocery shopping experience, um, or the market experience, and picking out things. Really try to get our kids involved in the kitchen with us, chopping up things. There's a very high level of pride that they have in that. And kids are more likely to eat what they make too. There's a lot of studies that have been done in that too when you involve your children. And so we have little knives for them, and they may do a total botch job on the cucumber, but they're proud of what they've done, and they've cut the cucumber, and that's just a part of learning life lessons.
I really loved the conversation about nutrition. It's really important. So thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks,
Thank you
Stephanie.
for watching. Bye.